So I'm Chris Beale. I tell people I'm not that smart, I'm just running out of new ways to screw up. I've been at this for, about 17, 18 years of Agile transformation, both as a consultant and as an executive doing my own organizations at times. And so, great conversations today. I liked Can anybody spell that? Like, I'm $5 if anybody can spell that. So I learned what that was, which is kind of cool. There was some really good insights in that talk, and it anchors to something the way I think about Agile, really from the perspective of teaming. We've talked a lot about teaming today. You heard a lot about teams. So this is the marketing speak around my talk. For Agile to thrive at scale, it's going to require more than just building Agile teams. It's going to require an entirely new ecosystem. Great, like that's really, that's way more elegant than I can actually talk. But what does that really mean? An ecosystem for what? And so we heard a lot today about teams and autonomy and leadership and funding and things like that. What we're really saying is we're rebuilding our organizations for teaming. So we used to tell people what to do. Now we want people to know what to do. We used to tell people, that they had to go account for every hour, and we don't really want them to do that anymore. We want teams of people to collaborate with each other cross-functionally to solve problems. That's what this really is. So just for a moment, I've done this with a lot of talks and a lot of organizations. Think about the best team you were ever on. So you've all been on that team. You may be on that team now, right? Could have been work, could have been volunteer, military, whatever. You were on a team at some point that kicked butt, took names, outperformed, outadapted everybody else. Just hands up, scream the answer. Like, what are some of the things the common character? What was the characteristics of that team? What made it awesome? Just anybody. Trust. Self-organizing. What did you say? Vision. You had vision. Did you work towards different goals? Right? You had common goals. How many of any of the things you just said? So I've asked that question, it has to be 1,000 times, and I always get the same 10 answers. So how many of those things had anything to do with software? Technology at all? Right? Good teams have been around and bad teams have been around way longer than we've been doing any of this stuff. And that's really what this is. You're saying when you say you want to do this, you're saying, I want to redesign my organization for teaming. But this is my bold statement. Most organizations are not designed for teams. So you walk in, the organizational design is designed for budget predictability, it's designed for high utilization, it's designed for a lot of things. Having cross-functional teams, stable, high-functioning, cross-functional teams working together, like the teams of the best team you were ever on, most organizations are not designed for that. So if I go to my next, one too far. My next graphic here. By the way, there are way more gross pictures of dead fish. That's the most tame one I could find. So what does your organization look like? Your organizational design it's perfectly designed for whatever it's doing. Is it designed to really foster and care for and feed stable, autonomous teams? The best team you were ever on, did they rip it apart when you were done with whatever task you were doing? Was there somebody telling you what to do all the time? Those things didn't exist. So in your organizational design, where are you? Are you super fertile and you can form these teams and the organization supports them and they grow and people love it? Are you more in the desert where it's just ambivalence? Yeah, go ahead and do it. We're not going to support you, but yeah, sure, go ahead. And your teams don't get supported. They might not get funding, they might not get business attention, like there's all kinds of things they don't get. Or are you actually actively designed to kill it? There are, the metaphor of the corporate antibodies, right? You put something new in an organization, it's a foreign element, the corporate antibodies rise up, right? And you're designed to kill that. So show of hands, whose organization is super fertile, like, Garden of Eden when it comes to introducing teaming and team-based problem solving, these agile teams into your organization? So just show of hands. Okay. Not surprising, right? I see some of this. Right? What about the desert? Just do whatever you want. We won't necessarily support it, but there's a few of those. Yeah, a little bit more, right? You can do it, but we're just not gonna do your thing. That's the way you write software. Go do whatever you want, right? What about if you do that, we're gonna kill it? Who's got that? It's better than it used to be. There's a few. I got some more of this going on, right? When I gave this talk before, like in maybe 3 or 4 years ago, everybody's hand was going up. So it's better. It's a good sign. So, but here's the thing. Not being designed to do it is a problem. But the real problem you're facing when you try is you're not designed to actually change. So organizations are usually designed to protect themselves from their employees, either incompetence or dishonesty or whatever it might be. There's different facets. Organizations build up controls and structures to protect themselves from their employees, right? And so when you go try to change an organization that's not designed for change, you're going to get what you've probably been getting, what many people get, which is pockets of success where there's little eco bubbles that form because one leader is courageous. But true enterprise systemic change doesn't happen because it's not supposed to. So Deming had a great quote, right? Every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. And then there's any number of flavors of the second quote. All organizations are perfectly designed to get the results they're now getting. If we want different results, we must change the way we do things. So you do not, I'm a Detroit Lions fan. Sorry. It's going to take a moment. Thank you. We will take donations. I'm trying to get something else, like steer my kids to some other team. But they are perfectly designed to win one playoff game in 60-something years, right? Just saying, it's the truth. They're perfectly designed for that. So your organizations are not underachieving and they're not overachieving. They're achieving perfectly for their design. Now you're saying, well, wait a minute, we want to do this whole teaming thing. We want to have these stable teams and have them work from prioritized backlogs and the business is going to help us and like all this stuff's going to happen. But you're not designed for that. Or are you designed to change to that? So some of the things we run into, I'll look at my little board here so I don't look up there. What are some of the things we run into? Leadership for sure, misaligned or unaligned leadership. So in show of hands, just curiosity, how many of you are folks that are really close to the work surface helping teams every day? Okay, thank you. How many of you are folks, and maybe a little further up in the organization, who are trying to get your organizations to do this? Okay, good mix. Yeah, good mix. And possibly both, right? So you could have any number of misalignments. I want to do SAFe. Somebody else wants to do modern Agile. Somebody else wants to do XP. Somebody else wants to do whatever. And you have all kinds of leaders who, that want to go in different directions. They may want to do the Agile thing. It used to be that we had people who wanted, a lot of people want to stay at today. Like, why would I change today? We just built it. But more and more with Agile crossing the chasm, they want to go, but they might have completely different ideas on how to do it or what it is. I like this system of delivery because so-and-so told me SAFe is the way to go. Nothing wrong with SAFe, but so-and-so told somebody else that modern Agile is the way to go, or less, or DAD, or whatever it is. So there's can be competing points of view in your executive leadership, and think of those as compasses. Many norths, right? And so that's all just going to be canceling force. All of those things are just canceling forces. You're going to have a hard time getting transformation to happen. So the executive leaders and the leaders that follow them, if your VP wants to go in that direction, then the directors are probably going to want to go in that direction. The problem is there's another VP that wants to go in that direction, and their directors want to go in that direction. And then there's the frozen middle. That's a term we coined up in the Midwest. It's all of those middle managers who are just scared to death. Like, what does this mean to me? How do I not have to change? How can I just put my head down and maybe this thing will just blow over, right? So how can I not do it in a way that doesn't, get me fired? So you have competing experts, those darn consultants. So you could have employees that you've hired who've they've done Agile a certain way or done transformation a certain way. You've got contractors who came in from an environment that had done an Agile transformation. It could be one of those air quote ones. And you've got consultants in your environment. Does anybody have this problem where you have multiple competing experts in your environments? Show of hands. So they're all experts, all experience, but kind of doing that, right? And the thing is, they take leadership and others with them. They're influential, right? They're experts. So they're actually multiplying or amplifying that misalignment through your organization. You could have other internal organizations. Your PMO wants to go and do this because they're working with this vendor, and your COE wants to go in that direction. Your L&D organization, learning and development, or HR, they might want to go in a completely different direction. I've been in clients where while we're doing the transformation, some other part of the organization is actually implementing a new system to track projects the way that we did it 10 years ago. Right? So we're in the middle of a transformation, and those systems are getting implemented to do exactly what we're saying we're not going to do anymore, right? And they're spending millions of dollars to do that, right? So you can have any number of these kind of misalignments through the organization. And then the operating systems, the stuff that we all hear a lot about, like we're project funded or we're chargeback funded. We need to have stable teams, and we need to figure out how to govern that, the decisions we're going to make. So you can have things that are very, very low trust kind of structures in your organization that are actually fighting you as you're trying to change. So, somebody else brought up performance management. I think it was Tom. Performance management systems as well. If you stack rank your employees, okay, so we're going to form teams. We're going to stack rank our employees for promotions. What's going to happen to teamwork in that kind of a system? Right? Not only do I have no incentive to help you, I have a counter incentive. It's actually bad for me to help somebody else because I'm going to get stack ranked lower. If I'm going to try to change and go against the grain, I get stack ranked lower. The only thing that's safe for me is to play the game, right? So there's all kinds of systems we invent, there's all kinds of structures we invent, and then there's just all of the people and leadership forces that are pulling the organization in many different directions at the same time. Anybody feeling that? Yeah. Easy. So let's go get safe, and let's drop it in. It'll be fine, right? And that's what we find. I was talking to a big utility in the Detroit area, that's where I'm from, which is the only reason you'd be a Lion fan, I think. But they wanted some advice. It was a friend, and I talked to him, an executive, and new CEO, wants everything insourced, right? They're really looking hard at this Agile thing, and I said, okay, but can you stabilize teams? Well, no, we can't do that. Okay, so you can't have people on teams that actually stay together. Well, no. But can you at least have them together for a while and not have them work on 7 projects at once? Well, no, we can't do that either. They've got to be on 7 things because that's the way, They weren't going to change anything. They were just going to hope that bringing in SAFe would solve their problem. And so I had a very truthful moment with them, like, you're going to pay a lot of money, and that's not going to work. So your organization is not designed for change. Not only is it not designed for Agile, it's actually not designed to change to Agile. Okay? All right, so in order to change your organization, we have to change the system. So this was Julianne's talk. We could say, let's go change the culture. Let's go get culture coaches. Not a bad thing, right? It's nothing awful about that. And the culture coaches are going to meet with leaders, and they're going to tell them how they should act differently. How you should conduct yourself and how you should message to your employees. And then they're going to leave that meeting and have to get work done in the exact same organization that they did before. Same structures, same people. So the culture is how you get work done. That is your culture. It's how you get work done. And so not formally, but informally, how you get work done in your company. So if you can give all the culture coaching you want, but if you walk back out into the same structure, it's not going to change. Your culture will stay the same. So what we have to do is we have to think about systems. And this is not by any means complete, right? Comprehensive. I just wanted to give you a couple of things to do or a couple of things you could take away that might help you. So there's more we could have talked about, but I just wanted to give you a couple of big ones that we think work really well. Change leader teams. You heard something about, we talked about TLTs, transformation leadership teams. We talked about executive steering committees. Whatever you call them, the important thing is you've enrolled every level of leadership into a team, into a change team, and they can actually overlap. So what you want to make sure is that you have a means of alignment. So I've also got, you can see, coaches. Every team needs a coach. So one of the first things I tend to do in transformation is set up the executive leadership team with a coach, usually me or somebody else, to help align them. So all of the compasses, all of the people who are pointing in different directions can start to come together around one vision for their system, their Agile system of delivery, and how we're going to get there. And this is a great canary in the mine, because if you can't do this, if you can't pull that team together of executives to say, okay, where are we going? How are we going to do it? You're probably going to struggle. It's going to be really hard for you to drive change in an organization if you can't get leadership on the same page. So at every level, though, you can have a leadership kind of coaching change team. It's not just that they're talking and learning. They're having to change the hard things that you need changed. If you need your funding models changed, there's a level of the organization that can do that. Probably not at the work surface. It's probably up at your CFO, right? But if there's some process control you have in IT that you've put there because you didn't trust your employees and you wanted to have some checks and controls there. Not necessarily a bad thing. You might still need something like that, but maybe there's a better way to do it. Maybe there's something leaner, faster, lighter weight way to take care of those concerns. So you might be able to take that into a mid-level kind of change team and get that solved. So you need to you need structure, systems that will elevate the rocks to the level of the organization that can solve them, that can break them. Otherwise, you will get constrained. There's things you're going to have to change. And some of them are really big and really hard. And if you don't have a system to do it, if you're just going to executives and saying, well, we got to change, it's probably not going to work, right? That's a very ad hoc way to do it. So having a way to actually cascade alignment to a central north, and it could have other business partners. I just, for simplicity, didn't want to have a real complicated slide here, but your business partners in here, architecture folks in here, you can get a lot of folks in here who are working on the organization to work together to make the changes you need, to affect the changes you need for these teams to not be the dead fish or dying out in the desert, okay? Transformation office. How many people have a transformation office in their companies? Show of hands. There's a few. Yeah, okay. This is a powerful system for change. Especially, it's valuable at small scale, but it's really, really valuable at large scale as well. Like I've seen Transformation Office. How many of you have had like an Agile COE? How many of you are in the Agile COE? Yeah, okay, good. So that's cool, right? So you can build off of that. The distinction I would draw is like your Agile COE is probably a collector. It probably collects up, this is our point of view on the system of delivery we want to use. Like we're going to use this system of delivery with these roles and this governance structure or whatever, and it becomes kind of the guardians of that and the providers of that. I want you to think about your transformation office as a connector. With all of these other parts of the organization that are somehow involved in change, Agile or otherwise, how can we connect it all up? So maybe we need to have some training for these roles. We're going to move to this system of delivery, and here's the roles in those teams. We need training. Rather than have L&D go off and do whatever it's going to do, have your transformation office experts form a team with L&D and work through it together. So if you have a finance function or other HR performance functions or whatever that are trying to drive change to the organization that aren't necessarily aligned to where you want to go, form teams in conjunction with your transformation office. They don't have to belong to the transformation office. They just have to work to form teams with the transformation office. So this is a really powerful thing if you can get it right. And then the other thing you have with your transformation office is providing services to your transformation. So, where are we going to get Agile coaches? What are we going to do in terms of, can somebody help me with my current maturity assessments? Like, are there services that you can provide to your organization as you're transforming? So, A, connect up all the resources of the organization, and then B, provide them, expose them as a set of services that are cohesive and coherent to your system of delivery and your system of transformation. They're things that people can consume. You could have an office hour service. There's all kinds of services you could have that you capacitize as your transformation office to help your organization reach critical mass. Super, super powerful thing when you get it. Can really can drive a lot of forward progress and get you to your tipping point faster. Okay. And you heard a little bit about this one. So even in small scale transformations, I guess I'd break my transformation career up. Pre-leading Agile, post-leading Agile. I'm an old hands-on. My baptism moment, my moment was becoming an XP developer, a hands-on XP developer, way in the way back, longer than I'd like to admit. That's when I kind of caught fire and changed, and so I got into the transformation business. Worked with a different consultancy long ago in the 2002 to 2009 era, and I would just show up and coach. Gravitas or whatever. We would just show up, we'd land coaches, and we'd start coaching. Didn't change the organization. Didn't go do the work to actually get all the stuff aligned. All the systems were still in place, but we would coach teams on how to do XP. Even that wasn't repeatable. I couldn't scale it. Just having people show up and coach stuff is really hard to scale. Because they're going to coach whatever they coached before. You go out and hire some more people because you're growing or whatever. They're just going to go coach whatever they coached. But that's different than the other coaches. Now your coaches have different points of view and they're fighting. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever had the fighting coach problem. Yeah. Sometimes I think the coaches are harder than the actual people they're coaching with some of this stuff. So chaos doesn't scale. That's ad hoc, right? That's chaos. So if you're going to transform the organization in a measurable way, right? If we can measure it, we can scale it. So if we can do it in a measurable way, we can figure out, from a fractal perspective, how we're going to grow and scale the transformation. If I have a large organization, just say 10,000 people, I'm just going to start landing coaches and having them coach. That's not going to go well, right? So, but if I have a system of transformation that I can I can go get the executives aligned through this lattice team structure. I can, underneath that, hook up all of the different parts of the organization that are trying to drive change in some direction to my transformation office, expose all those resources as transformation resources, and then have a structured way, very measurable way to drive the organization through the change, to lead it through the change. I can scale that. Right? It's not winging it. Like, you all know that we have this, when somebody does this, we're doing it agile. Like, the air quote is never good, right? You don't want to see air quotes. Unfortunately, a lot of people are doing transformation. We're doing transformation. We're just having coaches show up and coach stuff. And so so we talked about leading with systems. This is what we're talking about. Have a systematized way to align your executives and your leadership and the whole organization. Have a systematized way to align all of the support organizations and then expose them as transformation services that are coherent. Have a systematized way to break down the organization as a backlog and flow it through like a Kanban, chunks of the organization that you're going to transform. And then a systematized way to actually transform them. So no winging it, no air quote transformation that way. So you don't want to air quote transformation because it's really hard, turns out. Okay, so what have we learned? If your organization is not designed for change, Rob, no laughing at me. I haven't seen you in like 6 years, no laughing at me now. So if you're not designed for change, you have to design yourself for change. Not only you have to design yourself for Agile, but you have to put the systems in place that will continuously change you. Okay? Cool. Thank you for your time.